Hey guys, welcome back. I know in my previous video I had said that the next video I'm going to put out will be a meta breakdown of what I think now and in the future and how to counter yummies and canines with Vanquish Soul and all that, but life got kind of serious fast. I live in San Antonio, Texas, and we were about a month ago, a little over a month ago maybe now, affected by that heavy rain that we got. And where I work, our building is down a hill at the very bottom, and we got 6.5 feet of water. And we got announced this week that our branch is closing down, so we got laid off, which is not fun. So taking care of like actual serious life stuff and all, I had to put that video on hold. But this weekend was the NA WCQ, and I did watch it with some buddies, and I just wanted to quickly put out this video on my initial thoughts. I will probably have a video tomorrow or Tuesday on like an in-depth tech choices and everything, but this is just kind of, I wanted to get it out there, my initial thoughts, because it was a very interesting one. Because Maliss sucks and it'll never get a dub, which is just funny to me. But no, seriously, it was definitely interesting. We saw how I talked about in the Oceanic one, where we didn't see a whole lot of like Orcish and Vanquish Soul, because I feel like the cards were still kind of new and people were still getting used to like tech choices and combos and getting more comfortable with the new cards of what they can do. Because I'll be honest, seeing Vanquish Soul on stream and when it was the mirror match, I almost had an aneurysm trying to keep track of like what's in hand, what attributes and everything. It was like tier limit versus tier limit. It was just the nuts, but it was definitely interesting. And I'm definitely excited to see that Gem Knight got to top 4. I mean, that just goes to show like it doesn't matter the deck, right? Like all these decks that people shit on, that, oh no, that'll never win, or that's not good. Guys, literally just play whatever it is you want. Obviously, if you're like the people that I said, where you go to these events and you spend a lot of money, or you're sponsored because you're trying to get a dub and you're shouting out that local that sponsored you, or whatever the case might be, right? If you're going there just for the fun with the guys, girls, team, whatever, have fun, play what you want, because you'll be surprised that in the top cut we saw that Punk made it, Lunalight, Evil Twin, Orcus, which, spoiler alert, Orcus won, which I'm so happy that we can keep Maliss from getting a dub. But Goblin Biker was there, Vanquish Soul was all over the place, Gem Knights were pretty well represented, I think. But Maliss still not being able to get a dub, I think. And by no means were any of the pilots bad with Maliss. I think that Maliss is a very strong deck. It does a lot. I think just because a deck is represented a lot doesn't mean it's gonna always win or be the best. And that's the case with Maliss, right? It's definitely a very strong deck. They got a lot of extension. Just if you get Lancia, it sucks, right? That last match with Orcus, it was definitely, between the nib and just the right amount of interactions, right? Like, Wilfredo had just the perfect responses to the Maliss player had on board, and it was a very clean back and forth. I did see many times where Maliss just got Lancia'd and it was just a pass and they lost. The Gem Knight was interesting. It was a go second variant with the Shaddoll Fusion, and that match was just insane. I think, I forget his name, but, like I said, just take whatever it is you want, right? Because he had that same attitude of, and he liked the deck. He just wanted to go there, have fun, see what he could do. And, he studied his deck. He knew what his deck does. He knew what it did in the meta and how to build for that. And that's what I always preach, is just, you can play whatever deck, right? Be prepared for whatever event you're going to. If you're just going to go to locals, prepare for your locals. If you've got a bunch of stun players and RDA players and Raid Raptor and all kinds of like weird stuff, then be for that. But if you go to these big events, you got to be prepared for what's the biggest threats in the room, which is Maliss, Mitsurugi, Ryzel. We can see that Vanquish Soul is now another threat in the room and is only going to get worse with K9. Orc is being well represented as well. It's interesting to see that Ryzel is taking a step back, right? And we do probably have, after the EU Nationals in 2 weeks, we probably will get a ban list then. I kind of was hoping we'd get a ban list now, but it wouldn't make sense that we have ours and then a ban list drop and then they had theirs on a whole new meta. It wouldn't have made sense. So yeah, that's kind of all my just like initial thoughts on it. Orcus winning, awesome. Maliss still can't get a win because, not because the deck sucks or the pilots suck. I think Maliss just has a lot of targets on its back, and everyone and their mom has 3 Lancia, has Sanctum Thrust. It's just got a big target on its back, and Chaos Hunter as well. So until Maliss gets checked or the targets that hit Maliss get checked, I think Maliss will still be like a tier 1 deck because it can do a lot. It just can't ever close. And Maliss was very strong. And I played Maliss when Shifter was at 3 because I would just straight up win due to Shifter. Shifter carried me on its back in most of my games. But now that the other decks are evolving around Maliss and above Maliss because they're getting equal extension, they're getting, also great support. It's kind of like they're not the greatest, and especially into the Vanquish Soul. I think a lot of decks actually are going to struggle with the turn 0 Vanquish Soul, and especially K9 coming out, because you got to remember, by this time next month, the new set will be dropped, and we'll have to be dealing with Yummy, Vanquish Soul, all the support all around, and a Draco Tail, obviously, but I don't think Draco Tail is going to be like much of a threat. But we'll just have to wait and see kind of like how everything evolves. And, if you go to your locals and everyone's excited for Draco Tail and all you see is Draco Tail, then, you gotta play for that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like the big meta goes, it's kind of hard to see which way is it going to evolve because there was just so much representation. Like, I'll pull this up here. So in the top 64, you had like the unpopular decks. You had in top 64 Goblin Biker, Mermail, Memento, Lunalight, Evil Twin, White Forest, Punk, Blue Eyes, Vanquish Soul, Gem Knight. I mean, there was a lot of representation there of decks that it's just a diverse format, right? And that's what I'm really happy to see, that it's not the big meta decks winning, right? And seeing Gem Knight get top 4. And then in the Oceanic, White Forest getting 2nd place. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is becoming something very different. And I'm surprised that Konami was able to evolve the game without destroying the game. And what I mean by that is, like with the White Forest player, not playing Ash Blossom in the main, but siding it and going all the way to 2nd place with it. And more people going Board Breakers and Forbidden Droplets, and less people playing like Effect Veilers. People are still playing Imperms and Ashes because that's just like, the GOAT. But it's crazy to see that it's evolving to where the hand traps and the one-ofs and the trade back and forth don't do enough. Like, they've taken the decks to say, how can we take it to where instead of you playing Ghost Bells and Ashes and Imperms and Effect Veilers and Ghost Ogres and all these little one-of hand traps trading, right? It's not enough, and you got to have the big things like the Chummies and the Drolls and all this other stuff that impacts the rest of the game, right? The lingering stuff, Lancia as well. Yeah, that's just kind of my initial thoughts on what I saw this weekend. I'll do a video early this week about the deck profiles once they come out, and talking about tech choices that I saw and things that I witnessed that were very interesting that I want to bring to light. But until then, guys, I will see y'all later. Take care.